Hi everybody, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Hallmark Plus More, where we watch and talk about shows, movies, mysteries, Hallmark ornaments, and anything else that floats our boat. So today we're going to be reviewing Tracker Season 2, Episode 8, airs on CBS, starring Justin Hartley as Coulter Shaw. So before we get into the discussion and the review, I just want to say thank you to everybody who watches my videos and subscribes. It means so much to me, so thank you. So getting into this episode, it kind of starts about an old case, the Gina Pickett case from 10 years ago. It's unsolved, about a disappearance of a young woman. And we know it's kind of personal for Coulter. One reason, obviously, because it wasn't solved, right? I mean, that's got to be eating at him. I think it's the only case he hasn't solved. So obviously that, but also there's something personal with this case. We know he's involved with the sister. But we really don't know when that started or anything about that. So this first scene really takes us back and has that discussion and kind of fills in the blanks, so to speak, for us. So apparently Coulter was dating Gina's sister, and they were out at a restaurant or a bar, some kind of date, the night Gina disappeared. So that fills in a little bit of some storyline for me, fills in some blanks for me. This is his girlfriend's sister who went missing, which most likely means, depending on how long they were dating, that Coulter knew Gina on a personal level because that was his girlfriend's sister. So he sees firsthand his girlfriend, somebody he cares about, go through this grief and not knowing of what happened and seeing that firsthand and comforting her as a boyfriend. So that, I think, brings a little bit more light on this case. It makes it more personal because he actually saw how it affected her, and he was there to comfort her and himself because he probably knew Gina before this case too. Most of the time, Coulter takes these cases and they're always strangers, right? I mean, he's traveling across the country for rewards. He obviously has a good heart. He wants to find these people or animals in the past case. But this one is different because he knew Gina. This was his girlfriend's sister. So I kind of like that they gave you a little bit more information on that. And more of the reason for him to want to find her or find out what happened to her even, right? So I kind of like that they gave us that because it's kind of this cliffhanger that they keep talking about a little bit here and there in these episodes, the Gina Pickett case. You know, you saw from the episode in the woods how he was talking to the retired cop. Can you give some fresh eyes on this case? We helped each other out. I feel like you're a good guy. You're a retired cop. I just want fresh eyes. So you can see he talks about Gina Pickett case, every other episode. I wouldn't say they do it every episode, but it's nice when you can kind of put the pieces together because if you watch this show week to week, you remember the case because they keep talking about it a little bit here and there. So I did like how it opened up with that, answered some of my questions. Still have more questions, as always, as with anything. But getting into the case, so the case was definitely an interesting case too because this person wasn't missing, right? This woman hired Coulter to find her brother, but he was presumed dead. He died in a fiery car crash, which was recorded by a bystander. 2024, everything's recorded by bystanders. So of course, somebody just walking down the street takes out their phone and videotapes it. So they actually have footage of it. And it happens quickly, right? Any kind of fire from a car accident, it is pretty quickly happens. So it's definitely a tragedy. But somehow he either got out or it was staged, because she believes that her brother is still alive. So Coulter's like, give me your evidence, tell me what you know. And of course he takes the case. Their mom is dying in the hospital from cancer. So definitely a sad case, right? Because you feel for her, you feel for the entire family. I've had family members that have passed away from cancer, and watching that is just it's just devastating. It's so sad to watch, and to see people grieve, and have to go through that. So I can personally relate. Basically, the lady was like, "Look, my brother's still alive. He came, a stranger, came and visited my mom. What he said to her, what he gave her, only my brother would know that." So, I mean, even though he faked his death or was, something, he still couldn't stay away. I mean, his mom's dying of cancer in the hospital, right? So that's why she believes her brother's still alive. And Coulter believes her. So he takes on the case. And then he goes to where Lucas worked. Lucas is the man they're looking for. And there was a break-in. So they look at the footage from the break-in, and it's Lucas. He goes up in the ceiling tiles to get something. So they're like, okay, is this a scandal? Like, did he fake his death because he knew about something? So you kind of want to know, like, now we know he's still alive, but why? Your mom's dying of cancer and you're faking your death. Why are you staying away? So it's got to be something big, something worth, not telling your family you're still alive. So then there's that mystery aspect that you kind of want to know, right? So I'm kind of right along with them trying to put the pieces together. You find out he called an old friend from high school, but she's a social influencer who has followers. So then you're thinking, okay, scandal. Like, why else would he be connecting? Because it turns out he has a girlfriend. So it's not like he's connecting from this Stephanie girl from high school to, date her. He had a girlfriend. So then you're like, okay, it must be because she has followers and he wants to get this story out. And then she was killed. So you're like, okay, maybe that's why he faked his death, because she got killed trying to leak the story or give people, some information. She's got some kind of juicy gossip. So definitely feel like that was the way it was going. And then we go back to the bystander video about that man. It was a man kind of walking away from the fire. Older gentleman, very calm, and he's walking away. So when I saw this, that my first thought was like, yeah, there's something going on with him, because it's, when you see something like that, it's so unexpected. You're walking down the street and you see a car accident, and then you see a fire and explosion. I mean, you go to it. It's almost one of those things where you can't not look. So for him to be like walking away, it's like he knew it was going to happen, or he's seen it before. And I was like, yes, we need to figure out, who that is. And of course, it doesn't take long, because we got Bobby, right? I love Bobby. Of course, Bobby's going to figure out who the bystander is. I mean, that's nothing for him. He's great. Love his personality. He's so down to earth. Love all the scenes that he's in. Love the banter he has with Coulter. So he finds him, a store owner in Chinatown. So they go there, and then they find that he's dead. And they find this hidden compartment. And it looks like he has identities. You see fake IDs, you see wigs, you see clothes. So it seems like he kind of helps people in trouble, create new IDs, new lives, give them a fresh start. And then you find his wife, Barbie. And she didn't know her husband, had died, so she's obviously kind of shocked by that. But that's kind of what you find out, that she's done this her whole life. She brought her husband into the business, so I think she feels a little bit of guilt there, like, hey, I've always done this. He was a good guy, my husband. I brought him into this business, and now he's dead. However, even though she feels a little bit of bad about that, she still blames Lucas for her husband's death. Like, look, when you fake your death, you stay dead, you stay gone. It's his fault. He resurfaced. He knew the rules. So she's kind of blaming Lucas for her husband's death. But, you kind of want to find out, he resurfaced because of his mom, but why did he have to fake his death to begin with? Because she even said, people find us when they're desperate. So he had to have been desperate, some kind of information. So you do find out, what he hid in his old job. You find out there's some kind of video or pictures of a very powerful man in the community. he is running for mayor, so I don't know if he was a politician before, but you've seen that before, rich, powerful men trying to cover up their past or whatever indiscretions they have. So, I mean, it's definitely, you kind of find that out. But when they know that Lucas is still alive, he goes to the detective. Coulter usually works with the police, but the one scene that I thought was odd was when they found out that Lucas was still alive and they found him. Instead of going in, Coulter got the detective and was like, hey, I thought he needed to be protected, so I wanted you to come with me. And I was kind of like, Coulter, you don't lose a fight. Like, he's great protection. Like, why didn't you go in first? It's not like you're some wimpy kid, So when Coulter was like, oh, he needs protection, I want you to go with me, that seemed odd to me. I didn't necessarily think she was dirty at that point, but it was getting to me because why else would Coulter wait? And then it turns out, they hear gunshots. Lucas was killed with 2 shots. And that's what you find out. They faked his death again for a second time because the cop was dirty. So so that made more sense to me. How I was saying, like, why did Coulter wait? He should have just gone in. Well, apparently he did, because he worked this out with Lucas to fake his death the second time to, kind of get the cop going, answer her call. They trace her call. She calls him, hey, Lucas was alive. He's now dead. And that's kind of how they caught the dirty cop. So definitely a happy ending in that aspect, that this political or soon to be political man and this dirty cop, were killing people and trying to make his indiscretions go away. So I'm glad they were caught, and a happy ending that Lucas was able to see his mom. Right? Not necessarily a happy ending for the mom, because we don't know. I mean, her cancer was, it seems like it was, stage 4, far down on that stage list of cancer. Like, she was in her last final days, but at least he's there. So we don't know if her mom and his mom make it, but we know that he was reunited with his sister and she was able to pay Coulter, and they did find it. So that part of a happy ending, at least the family was back together during her recovery and her final days. And then the very end of the episode was very telling to me. I had mentioned earlier about the Gina Pickett case, and I like the way this episode almost bookend with Gina Pickett, right? It started out the beginning of the episode, you found out personal information, right? We found out that Gina Pickett wasn't just a case. He was, or it was Coulter's girlfriend's sister at the time of a disappearance. So, we always thought it was personal. Now we know how personal it really was. So they started out the episode with that information with Gina, and then they end the episode with more information about Gina. So I mentioned the retired cop that he met a few episodes ago. So he gets a call, Coulter gets a call from him, Keaton, and says, hey, I got some information. I'm giving you an address. So he goes and meets him outside. Now, what he says to him gives me chills. He says, are you ready to go to hell with me? And I was like, okay, this is going to be bad. You don't say that to somebody unless there's something going on, right? I don't watch torture. I'm not a big person in watching fights. And one of the reasons why I don't like watching torture is mainly because I can't unsee it, right? So, you go watch a movie and you're like, oh, that was a great movie, and then you forget about it. I don't forget about those scenes. If I'm watching somebody being tortured, it's always going to be in my mind. Weeks, days, years later, I'm going to think about it, right? Saw The Exorcist as a kid, still remember that to this day, every single scene, the look in her eyes, everything. So stuff like that doesn't go away. So for that reason, I don't really watch a lot of tortured scenes. So when this came, I was like, okay, he's going to be pretty bad off. Keaton he's going to hell with them. This is going to be torture, right? So you go down there and he's beating him up. I don't know what else he did to him, but he's tied to a chair. He's all bloody. He's just, his eyes won't even open. They're just one eye is just completely shut. So you're like, yes, Keenan is basically beating and torturing information out of this guy, which I don't agree with at all. Like I said, I can't even watch it because it stays with me. So I'm glad we didn't actually see Keenan do it. We're just seeing kind of, a product of what he did before Coulter got there. Thank goodness. But we found a lot of information, right? So this guy's name is Alex, and he keeps referring to a gentleman, Wales. Now, I could be wrong. So if I'm wrong, I'm upfront about it. I believe Wales was Gina's boyfriend. And we saw a couple episodes ago when they were talking about the Gina Pickett case where Coulter goes to this guy's apartment, basically breaks in on the anniversary of her disappearance, and basically, confronts this guy again, and I'm pretty sure he was Gina's boyfriend, and I think that's Wales. So if I'm wrong, it could be a completely separate person, this Wales, but I think it was the boyfriend. The reason why I bring up the boyfriend was it was odd when Coulter went to his house because he had dirt or soil in his refrigerator or freezer. I think that's weird. I don't know if that has to do with anything, but it stuck with me. I was like, okay, Coulter's breaking into the house of this guy who he believes is involved with Gina's disappearance. Won't say anything, but he believes was involved somehow. We don't know how. And he searches his house and he sees dirt and soil that he has in a bag, like a Ziploc bag in the freezer or the refrigerator. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? So, the mystery and puzzle piece in me is thinking that's going to have to do with something later on down the road. If it's not, then it's just a weird fact on why they talked about it. So I'm thinking that's Wales. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Either way, Alex is talking about him and his friend Wales. They did something, I don't know, something illegal, something bad. Somebody found out about it. This somebody is referred to as Teacher. So we don't really know his name. We just know that he goes by Teacher. And he found out about something Alex and Wales did together and basically is blackmailing him. I don't know, maybe he's torturing him. Maybe he's threatening to kill him. I don't know. But he has something over him. It's almost like he has something that they're holding over his head. And they're basically doing things for him because they're afraid of whatever they did. And this Teacher quote unquote, wanted Gina. So Wales lured Gina to the farm because the Teacher wanted Gina. So I use quotes because that's the things that stick out with me. Where he's at, is this some kind of compound? But at the farm. So we're going to have to figure out what that means. And lured him. He said that the Teacher wanted Gina. So to me, that doesn't sound good. Anytime a bad person wants so-called a woman, I don't think that's a good thing. He's obviously not wanting to date her. So, is Gina still alive? Was she just, a pawn in some scheme he had? Is he sex trafficked? Does he want her as a sex slave? I don't know why you would want a specific person. So for whatever reason, he has something over Alex and Wales. And Wales lured Gina to the farm because the Teacher wanted Gina. So we do find out some information. We don't know who the Teacher is, but this guy, Alex, is saying, I don't know who he is, but he knows things. So he's basically, letting you know or implying that this Teacher finds, runaways, bad kids, finds out what they did, and then holds it over their head and makes them do his dirty work, basically. So we don't really know who this Teacher is or what he does, but we do know that he finds out information and then holds it over their heads and makes them do stuff. And in this case, he wanted Gina, so he basically held something over Wales's head, some bad thing he did, and kind of said, you give her to me. So we really don't know much about that, but it just doesn't sound good. Being a woman, being an adult woman, that's scary to me. You know, any man with power. I'm just going to say that. This teacher is a man with power, and that's scary when a man has that much power that he can just do whatever he wants. And if he wants her, I can't picture it's for anything good. I hope I'm wrong. I always hope I'm wrong, but they're making it sound like it's not a good thing. And then the very last thing, is Gina alive? And then, of course, the episode ends, right? Because, of course, they can't tell you. They got to give you that cliffhanger. But, I mean, maybe she is still alive. However, I hope, if she is alive, I hope she escaped. Because, like I said, it's not sounding like, you know, she's just going over there to do housework, or she's just going over there, you know, to clean. I mean, it sounds like this man is wanting to harm her in some way. So I really hope we kind of have a happy ending with Gina, but they're not setting it up that way. They're setting it up as something bad happened to her and might still be happening to her. I mean, we really don't know. But I can tell you, they're going to find out who Wales is, whether Wales is the boyfriend that I think it is, or if he's not, Bobby's amazing at what he does. So if we don't know who Wales is, Bobby will find out who Wales is. So I'm really looking forward to this little side story they have with this Gina Pickett. And I loved the way this episode kind of bookended it. They started with more information, how personal it is to Coulter, and then they ended the episode with, you know, how she disappeared. We know where she went. You know, we know that she trusted this Wales person, and he lured her into danger, basically, to this teacher farm somewhere. So I'm definitely interested, you know, wanting to find out more, which is good. Anytime you watch a show or a movie and it leaves you wanting more, that's a good sign, right? So I hope you enjoyed this discussion, and I hope you come back and watch the other videos with me. And until next time, bye.